Listen closely to this moment, because one decision will flip a whole institution on its head. Get this pretender out of my branch before real clients see her. The words hit first. Then the hand. Brian Cole's palm cracked across Maya Reed's cheek and the sound rolled through the marble hall of Meridian First Bank. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Pens froze over deposit slips. The air tightened the way it does before a storm. Papers from Maya's loan file fanned across the floor like fallen cards. Brian nudged her leather folder with the tip of his shoe and pointed toward the doors. He carried himself like a man sure of his rank. Chin lifted, chest wide, eyes scanning for witnesses who would agree with him before they even thought about the facts. Security he did not shout. He commanded. The word cut like a whistle in a quiet field. Phones rose in a trembling wave. A college girl at the ATM lifted her camera with both hands. An older woman covered her mouth. Two men in suits traded a look that said everything and nothing. They kept walking. Maya touched her cheek. Her eyes stayed steady. She bent and gathered the scattered pages with slow, exact movements. She handled each sheet as if it mattered. She did not argue. She did not plead. She did not run. Have you ever been judged on sight and told you did not belong before you could even speak? Brian used the silence as a stage. Look at her ripped jeans, no makeup. This place serves people who achieve. His voice carried off the stone and glass. He wanted an audience. He had one. Lena Park, a student with a messenger bag and a mind for justice, hit record the moment she heard the slap. Her live counter climbed fast. Comments lit the screen. People wanted a name. People wanted a badge number. People wanted proof that what they feared still happens in bright rooms with polished floors. Brian stepped closer. Too close. His cologne mixed with coffee. The smell lingered like a challenge. Miss, whatever brought you here, this bank does not process charity. His eyes traveled over Maya's gray wool coat with open contempt. Try the community place down the block. They specialize in your situation. Maya crouched again and swept a page toward her folder. Calm hands. Careful breath. When she rose, she matched Brian's height and still felt bigger than him. I would like to speak with your district manager. Brian laughed. It was not humor. It was dismissal. District managers do not meet with street traffic. You cannot walk in dressed like that and demand time with executives. The live counter jumped. Lena zoomed in on the name pinned to his suit. Brian Cole, branch manager. Everyone is getting this name. At the investment desk, Mrs. Lee narrowed her eyes. She had lived long enough to recognize humiliation when she saw it. This is not right. Dear Brian snapped toward her voice. Mrs. Lee, please do not encourage this disruption. We have standards to maintain. Daniel Cruz stepped out from behind the loan desks. He had worked security for 12 years and knew the difference between threat and theater. He studied Maya. Something about her posture cut against the story he had been handed. Ma'am, is there something we can help you with? Brian answered for her. Daniel, call for backup code yellow. We have an aggressive person refusing to leave. Code yellow meant robbery or violence. Daniel knew that. Everyone in a uniform knew that. He hesitated. He looked again at the woman on the marble floor gathering papers with quiet hands. Maya's phone vibrated. The caller ID flashed T. Harris. She declined without checking twice. A second buzz. Same caller. Declined again. Brian noticed the phone case. Real leather. Metal corners. He swallowed a doubt and pushed it away. Probably stolen. See that? He jabbed a finger toward her hand. That is how they carry nice things and still come in here for help they do not qualify for. The accusation landed like a second slap. A father shifted his daughter behind him. Two executives by the cashier's desk stared and pretended not to stare. Lena's viewer count leaped again. Screenshots raced across feeds with a tag that named the bank in the street. This man just accused her of dealing because she owns a good phone. Maya's folder lay open near her boot. As she drew the pages together, a boarding pass flashed into view. Rivergate to London. First class, today. Daniel caught the glint of gold print. Brian did not. He had a story and he was sticking to it. Ma'am, maybe we can resolve this in the office. Absolutely not. Brian did not give an inch. She does not get private time. She gets an escort to the door. Maya's phone vibrated a third time. She looked at the screen this time. Same name. Same choice. Decline. The phone slipped back into her coat beside a heavy black card in a leather wallet. Daniel saw the edge of it. Not standard plastic. Not at all. Call corporate security. I want her banned from all Meridian properties. Daniel's radio stayed quiet at his belt. Did you hear me? I heard you, Mr. Cole. The air pulled tight. People could feel a wire straining close to snap. Lena lifted her camera for a wider shot that held both men. Viewers poured in. Comments turned from shock to action. Numbers for complaints, names of attorneys, offers to stand as witnesses. Maya closed her folder and stood tall. She met Brian's eyes for the first time since the slap. Brian, you should call corporate. He took that as defiance and turned it into fuel. We handle our own house. We do not let outsiders tell us who belongs. Nora Kim crossed the lobby in a fast, careful stride. Assistant manager. She kept her voice calm and her eyes sharp. What is happening here? Brian's jaw clenched. He wanted loyalty, not questions. Removing someone who refused to leave after being asked politely. Politely, Lena said it out loud so her audience could hear. He hit her and called her trash. Nora's face flickered. She looked at Maya. She looked at Lena's screen. She looked at the ring of customers who were now witnesses, not bystanders. Brian, did you handle it? This person caused a disturbance and made clients uncomfortable. Maya's phone buzzed once more. She glanced. She let it go to voicemail. Brian smiled like he had won something. See, her contacts are getting impatient. They know she is somewhere she should not be. Nora worked retail banking long enough to spot real quality at a glance. Maya's coat was wool and cashmere. Her shoes were Italian leather. The phone case alone could cover a car payment. But Nora also knew what happened to people who contradicted a boss in public. Careers ended that way. Ma'am, perhaps we can discuss your needs in a private room. Do not coddle her. Brian cut across her sentence. She is not a client. Look at her. Does she look like she belongs in a premium branch? Lena's counter surged again. The comments became a flood. Call the police. Call corporate. This is discrimination. People posted the bank's number. People posted the branch address. People asked for managers above the manager. A local blogger pressed against the front windows and started asking questions outside. Camera crews rolled into the lot. The bank's phones lit up like a switchboard from another century. The receptionist tried to keep up and could not. 3 more guards drifted into a loose circle around Maya. They did not raise hands. They did not touch. Their presence alone built a wall. Daniel stayed closest to her and kept his radio still. His instinct kept repeating the same warning. Something is off. Something is wrong about the story he is selling you, ma'am. You are being asked to leave the building. I understand what I am being asked to do. Daniel, I do not understand why. Her voice held an authority that did not need volume. It made Daniel take half a step back without thinking. He had heard that tone in courtrooms and command centers. He had never heard it from someone standing alone with a stinging cheek and a scattered file. Brian found strength in the size of the crowd. You see, even security recognizes the risk we have. Protocols for people who try to unsettle our work. Every incoming call to the branch made Brian more defensive. Every ring sounded like a judgment he refused to accept. He doubled down because he could not go backward without admitting the first step had been wrong. Outside, news vans lined the curb. Reporters adjusted mics. Producers signaled countdowns. The building itself became a stage for a new kind of hearing, the kind that does not wait for court dates. Mrs. Lee slipped closer to the ring of guards. Officers. This woman has done nothing wrong. I have watched from the first word. Please step back. Ma'am, do not ma'am me. I have banked here longer than you have been alive. This is bullying and you will not make me pretend it is something else. Lena tilted her phone to frame the older woman as she spoke. The comments poured hearts and claps. Viewers love courage. They also follow it. Nora made a choice that would either save her job or end it. Brian, we should de-escalate. Take this into your office, away from cameras. No, let them watch. Let them see how we handle disruptions. This bank serves achievers. Not what? Brian Maya's voice cut clean through the noise. The lobby fell quiet. You could feel the questions rise in the space he left open. Not people who do not belong here. The words hung there and changed the temperature of the room. Maya's phone buzzed again. This time she answered. Yes, I am still at Branch 12 downtown. There has been a situation. Do not send anyone yet. Give me 5 minutes. She ended the call and slid the phone away. Brian's eyes narrowed. Who was that? Your dealer? Your handler? The insult poisoned the air. Lena's viewers roared through their screens. Someone posted the regional office number. Someone else posted the CEO's email. Names flew. So did promises that this would not disappear. Daniel made his own decision. Mr. Cole, I think we need to call this in to corporate before I issue any orders. Security reports to management. Not the other way around. Brian's own voice bounced back at him and sounded worse than it had in his head. The lobby gave him his echo and his mirror. Neither was kind. Maya straightened and took the room the way a conductor takes a stage. Brian, you have 60 seconds to reconsider your position, he laughed, sharp and brittle. Or what you will call a lawyer. You will call a caseworker. Maya opened her folder with care. She lifted a black badge with gold letters that caught the chandelier light and threw it back at every lens. Meridian First Bank Board of Directors Maya Reed. Chief Executive Officer. Brian's smile died. So did the whispering. Even the phone seemed to hold their breath. Or I will call an emergency board session to discuss immediate personnel changes. Silence turned to shock. Shock turned to noise. The lobby became a storm again, but this time every sound ran in one direction. People reached higher with their cameras. People spoke in quick bursts. People repeated one word to each other like it was a secret and a headline. Nora went pale. Daniel stepped back. Mrs. Lee smiled for the first time all morning. That is fake. You cannot just print a title and walk in here. Maya dialed a number from memory. The call picked up on the first ring. Security command. This is Maya Reed authorization code, Delta 77, a dispatch corporate security to branch 12. Now, yes, ma'am. Teams are on the way. Everyone heard both sides. No one needed an interpreter. Brian's knees almost gave. The first truth had landed. More were coming. And if you think the worst moment has passed, you are not ready for what happens next. Brian's face drained of color. The crowd knew he had stepped into something much larger than a simple customer dispute. His confidence cracked under the weight of a reality he had never imagined. Maya tucked the badge back into her folder with slow precision, as though every second she controlled was another second of power wrested from him. The room held its breath, waiting to see how he would respond. You cannot be serious. You expect us to believe you are the head of this corporation? His words faltered. His tone no longer rang with command. It quivered, sharp edges dulled by fear. Maya did not need to raise her voice. You assumed that success only wears one kind of face. That wealth looks a certain way. That authority only comes dressed in tailored arrogance. And because you could not imagine me in any other role, you exposed yourself for exactly what you are. The crowd murmured. Even the guards shifted uneasily. Daniel Cruz's jaw tightened. He had served long enough to recognize when a man's career had just collapsed in real time. Maya slid out another paper from her folder. Corporate seal. Legal headers. Investigation report. This morning at 9:15, an inquiry into discriminatory practices at this branch was opened. Your behavior today is now Exhibit A. The words cut like glass. The murmurs grew into full whispers that filled the air like rising smoke. Phones buzzed with notifications. Live viewers spiked again, racing into the tens of thousands. Brian looked around desperately, searching for support. His eyes landed on Nora, the assistant manager. Nora's lips pressed tight, her gaze flicking between Maya and the crowd. She wanted to stay silent, but silence had already chosen a side. Ma'am, Nora said cautiously, her voice trembling, I would like to state for the record that I did attempt to intervene. I advised de-escalation. I know, Maya replied without hesitation, and your record will show it. Relief washed over Nora's face. For the first time since the slap, she looked like she might breathe again. Brian snapped his head toward Daniel. Call corporate. Tell them this is a misunderstanding. Daniel didn't move. Mr. Cole, with respect, I think corporate already knows. The tension broke like glass shattering. Gasps ran across the room as the lobby doors opened wide. 3 figures in dark suits entered with quiet authority. Their presence alone silenced the crowd. Corporate security. The lead officer, a woman with sharp eyes and a steel posture, walked straight toward Maya. Ms. Reed, we received your call. Documentation teams are on site. Thank you, Jennifer. Please record everything. Brian stumbled backward as though the words themselves had shoved him. His mouth worked, but no sound came out. The guards who had formed a circle around Maya slowly eased apart, unsure whether they were protecting the bank or protecting her. The live stream went wild. Viewers posted in all caps, she's the CEO. Plot twist of the year. He's finished. This is history. Mrs. Lee leaned forward, her voice carrying the kind of moral weight that cuts through chaos. I told you, dear. Dignity always wins. Brian turned crimson, humiliation painting his skin in blotches. He dropped into a chair, trying to gather his papers as if order on the floor could repair disorder in his life. Please. I was protecting the bank's image. Her appearance, what did you think I was? Maya's voice sliced through his excuses. Trash? A handout case? A thief? Each word slammed against him harder than the last. He flinched, as though reliving his own cruelty but from the other side. Jennifer, the corporate security director, activated a body camera. Mr. Cole, you will surrender your ID and access cards. This interaction is being recorded for corporate investigation. The crowd pressed closer. Phones lifted higher. No one wanted to miss what came next. Brian tried one last attempt at defiance. This is entrapment. You set me up. How was I supposed to know who she was? You weren't supposed to know anything, Maya said firmly. You were supposed to treat every customer with basic human dignity. The silence that followed was more damning than any accusation. Every eye was on Brian. Every phone caught his downfall. The man who had begun the morning certain of his power now sat cornered, his career evaporating minute by minute, and the worst part for him was knowing this was only the beginning, because Maya was not finished. Brian's hands shook as he fumbled for words. His career, his authority, his reputation, each was slipping like sand through his fingers. The more he tried to gather them, the faster they scattered. Maya lifted her phone once more and dialed an internal extension. The speaker carried her words across the marble lobby. This is Maya Reed, CEO authorization Delta 77A. I want full documentation of this incident filed immediately. The reply came sharp and clear. Yes, ma'am. Corporate teams are logging everything. The crowd erupted with murmurs. Everyone had just heard her power confirmed in real time. Brian leaned forward, his face pale, his jaw quivering. Ms. Reed, I didn't recognize you. You thought I couldn't possibly belong here, Maya interrupted. You thought that someone who didn't look like your idea of wealth had no right to stand in this branch? The words landed heavier than his slap had. The lobby, the guards, the customers, even the cameras held still. Jennifer, the security director, tapped her tablet. Mr. Cole, according to evidence reviewed so far, you referred to Ms. Reed as trash, welfare, and a drug dealer. You also made physical contact by striking her face. Is this correct? The question cornered him. Brian swallowed hard. His voice cracked. Yes. The crowd's gasp felt like a thunderclap. Phones captured every sound. Lena's stream counter surged again, climbing into 5 figures. Viewers around the world witnessed his admission. Maya withdrew one more document from her folder. This was signed this morning by the board. It authorizes termination without severance for any employee found guilty of discriminatory assault against a customer or officer. Brian's knees buckled. He dropped into the leather chair as though the weight of the paper itself crushed him. Sarah, the assistant manager, finally found courage. For the record, I opposed his actions. I tried to de-escalate, Maya nodded. And your professionalism has been noted. Daniel stepped forward too. Ma'am, I need to state I refuse to call code yellow. That order was not justified. Exactly what I expect from security, Maya answered calmly. Judgment, not blind obedience. Brian clutched his head in his hands. Please give me another chance. I can change. I'll take training, whatever you ask. Maya's eyes were steady, almost gentle, but her words gave no ground. You didn't just make a mistake. You revealed yourself. And who you are does not align with the values of this bank. Jennifer's voice cut in. Mr. Cole, hand over your badge, your access cards, and any corporate property now. His fingers trembled as he unclipped the badge he once wore with pride. 12 years of authority reduced to plastic and metal lying on a table in front of him. The customers watched in silence. Phones kept recording. A man who had slapped a stranger minutes ago now sat hollow, stripped of power. But the moment wasn't finished. Because Maya wasn't only there to bring down a single man, she had come to set something greater in motion. And the crowd would soon see that justice wasn't just about removal. It was about transformation. The marble lobby was so quiet that even the faint buzz of fluorescent lights seemed loud. Every eye stayed on Maya. Every camera was locked to her face. She stood calm, collected, and immovable. Brian sat collapsed in the chair, badge surrendered, career unraveling before the very people he had tried to impress with cruelty. His chest rose and fell too fast, like a man drowning on dry land. Maya pulled out another document, this one stamped with the company seal in bold ink. This investigation didn't start today. It began weeks ago. Multiple complaints were filed against this branch, citing patterns of discrimination. I arrived today to confirm what the board already suspected. Gasps echoed through the room. Some customers whispered to one another, realizing they had experienced the same kind of treatment before but had never dared to speak. Now their silence was broken by proof. She turned slightly so her voice carried to everyone. Under your leadership, Brian, minority customer satisfaction dropped by more than 30%. Retention fell even further. In the last year alone, this branch has settled nearly $5 million in discrimination complaints. The words dropped like iron weights. Each fact was another stone on his chest, pressing him lower in the chair. Brian tried to interrupt, his voice cracking. Those numbers don't— I'm not finished, Maya cut him off sharply. You ignored every de-escalation protocol. You humiliated customers. You turned this bank into your personal stage for prejudice. And you struck me in front of witnesses. Phones shook in hands as viewers typed furiously. The live counter soared past 15,000, climbing with every second. Jennifer, the security director, checked her tablet. Corporate security has confirmed. Headquarters phones are flooding with calls. Media outlets are already outside demanding statements. The words made Brian's face pale further. His downfall wasn't hidden. It was spilling onto national news in real time. Maya looked at him with a quiet authority that felt heavier than shouting. At 10:47, when you struck me, this bank's stock stood at $127 per share. 20 minutes later, after this footage spread, it dropped to $124. That's a market loss of nearly $1 billion, caused entirely by your actions. The collective gasp was almost physical. People pressed closer to hear every word. Brian buried his face in his hands. His authority was gone. His dignity was gone. And now the consequences stretched beyond him to every shareholder and every executive watching from afar. Maya's gaze swept the crowd. What happened here today is not just about one man's prejudice. It is about a system that allowed him to thrive. That system changes now. Lena's livestream chat erupted in cheers, fire emojis, clapping hands. Comments flooded in. She's rewriting history right here. This is bigger than banking. Mrs. Lee, who had been silent since her bold defense earlier, raised her voice once more. Young lady, make sure this is remembered. Don't let them bury it under apologies. Maya nodded. It will not be buried. It will be the foundation of reform. Brian tried to speak again, his voice little more than a whisper. Please, I can fix this. Maya didn't even look at him. You already fixed it, Brian. By revealing exactly what needed to be destroyed. The crowd erupted in murmurs, half awe, half relief. Everyone knew something irreversible had just begun, but Maya wasn't finished. The downfall of one man was only the beginning. The world was about to witness an entire system rebuilt in front of their eyes. Maya stood firm as the weight of the moment settled over the lobby. Her voice cut through the hush like a bell. This is not just an isolated scandal. This is a turning point. Jennifer glanced at her tablet again. Ms. Reed, the press conference has been confirmed. Every major outlet is already outside. Maya gave a small nod. Then let them listen. Let the whole country see what accountability looks like. She turned to face the crowd, and the words carried with measured strength. Effective immediately, this branch becomes the pilot location for what we will call the Dignity Banking Initiative. Gasps rippled through the lobby. Phones zoomed closer. People leaned forward as if afraid to miss even a syllable. Bias recognition training will no longer be optional. Every employee will undergo comprehensive quarterly sessions with real-world scenarios and strict oversight. Customer interaction protocols will be rewritten. Every client will receive equal service regardless of appearance, accent, or perceived status. Nora clutched her notepad, scribbling furiously. She looked up, almost breathless. How will we measure success? With data, Maya answered. Customer satisfaction across demographics, equalized transaction times, complaint resolution metrics, mystery shoppers from every background. Transparency will be mandatory. The crowd erupted with murmurs. Customers who had once felt invisible now felt seen. Employees who had long stayed silent now saw that silence had consequences. Mrs. Lee's eyes glistened. That's how you build trust. By proving it, not promising it. Maya gave her a gentle nod. Exactly. Lena's live stream exploded with reactions. Viewers typed, "She's changing policy live on camera. This is corporate history in the making." Antonio, the head of security, stepped closer. "What about security concerns, ma'am? We deal with real threats sometimes. Legitimate threats will always be handled," Maya replied firmly. "But prejudice is not protection. Assuming danger because of race or clothing is no longer tolerated." The crowd murmured in agreement. Phones tilted to capture Antonio's thoughtful expression. He gave a single sharp nod. Understood. Maya lifted her laptop, connecting it to the digital displays around the lobby. A framework appeared on every screen in real time. Dignity Banking Initiative, Phase 1, Immediate Implementation, Bias Detection Algorithms, Real-Time Coaching Alerts, Civil Rights Oversight Boards. The air buzzed with energy. People whispered to each other that they were watching reform happen right there in the lobby. Phase 2, Maya continued, will involve community voices, advisory boards with residents, monthly audits by independent organizations, public reports released every quarter. The customers broke into applause. Even some employees joined, clapping with quiet relief that their workplace was being pulled toward something better. Maya wasn't finished. Phase 3 will expand these standards across the company. A community investment fund, minority business loans, hiring requirements to ensure diverse leadership. Brian sat slumped in the chair, a shadow of himself, forced to watch as the system he once controlled was rebuilt without him. His name would no longer mean power. It would mean failure, a lesson engraved into policy. The lobby no longer felt like a battleground. It felt like a courtroom, a workshop, and a rally all at once. People were witnessing change being written line by line, and yet everyone could sense there was still one final chapter waiting, because this wasn't just about policy. It was about legacy. The marble lobby shimmered with a different kind of energy now. It was no longer the stage of Brian's arrogance, but the birthplace of something far greater. Maya closed her laptop, her voice calm but heavy with finality. This morning, one man's prejudice cost this bank nearly $1 billion in lost market value. But what we build here today will return more than numbers. It will return dignity. The crowd erupted in applause, raw and unplanned. It wasn't just customers anymore. Even employees joined, clapping with relief, some with tears in their eyes. Phones captured every angle, every cheer. The live stream comments lit up with words like history, justice, and change. Security officers flanked Brian as he stood to leave. His hands shook around a cardboard box filled with the remains of his career, plaques, family photos, and company awards that no longer meant anything. He moved slowly, stripped of the swagger he once wore so proudly. Mrs. Lee stepped forward as he passed. "Young man," she said firmly, "remember this moment. You can spend a lifetime building status, but one act of cruelty can tear it all down." Brian's lips trembled. For the first time, his voice held no arrogance, only broken remorse. "I was wrong." The crowd was silent for a breath, letting his words linger. Then, like a tide rolling back, attention returned to Maya. She raised her hand, steady and resolute. "Change begins here, but it cannot end here. What happened today must echo across every branch, every boardroom, every corner of this company and beyond." Her phone buzzed again. She answered this time, her voice firm but measured. "Yes, James, the situation is contained. No, we are not settling. We are leading." Every customer heard her words. Every employee did too. The message was unmistakable. This was no cover-up. This was a reckoning. Jennifer, the corporate security director, returned with her report. "Ma'am, all documentation is complete. Legal, HR, and public relations have what they need." "Excellent," Maya replied. "Now let us begin the next chapter." She turned to the crowd, speaking as though she addressed the entire nation. Dignity is not negotiable. Not in banking, not in business, not in life. Every person who walks through these doors deserves respect, no matter who they are or how they look. Applause shook the marble walls. Lena's livestream viewer count soared past 30,000. Screenshots flew across every platform. News anchors outside read statements live on air as the story continued to unfold in real time. Maya gathered her papers, sliding them back into her folder. She stood tall, her presence radiating calm authority. "This branch will carry a new name," she declared. "The Dignity Banking Initiative starts here, and it will not stop until every trace of prejudice is erased from our system. The bronze plaque was unveiled weeks later. Customers walked past it with pride. Employees pointed to it as a promise, and the banking world studied it as a standard. But in that moment, inside that crowded lobby, under the bright lights and buzzing phones, history had already been written. Justice had prevailed. Not through vengeance, not through silence, but through truth revealed in the open. Maya's final words echoed long after she left the branch. Change does not come quietly. It comes when courage meets accountability. And today we proved that dignity will always outlast discrimination. The crowd erupted again, but this time it wasn't for shock or outrage. It was for hope. And the story that began with a slap ended with a promise that everyone in that room would carry forward, and the world beyond would never forget.